Another question that I know Kelly's working on and dealing with on the phones is related to pending cases and stuff getting rescheduled that was on the calendar, and everything kind of got really jumbled up here. So Kelly, can you talk a little bit about what some of those questions are?
Yeah, I mean, largely the question is just around what are the courts still hearing? And there's just generally some confusion around that. I understand, and clarify for me if I'm wrong, but our understanding of the CSS team is that you're still able to file new motions, but they're not being heard. So could each of you clarify respectively what is being heard where, and I guess just answer that question for us?
Yeah, and also if something's been rescheduled and there isn't a date yet reestablished, is there is the timeline uh, something that's going to be a year out, or is this something that could be sooner than that? If you can kind of give a little bit of context, I know you can't say specifically, but if you can give a little context of that. So Katie, if you want to talk a little bit about how what's happening down by you in Cook County and in Illinois.
Sure. So in terms of cases right now, in every county that I'm aware of in Illinois, you are absolutely still able to file new cases, and you're also able to file into existing cases, whether that be before divorce or post-judgment after divorce. So we can still file everything. The clerk's office is still accepting those types of petitions as well as new cases. With regards to things that have been scheduled that are going to be rescheduled, so any case from now through at least April 15th to April 17th in certain counties are going to be rescheduled. So whether that's a prove-up date, a hearing date on a non-emergency issue, or even a status date on an existing case, all of those things will be rescheduled within a 30 to 60 day time frame. I know particularly in Cook County, they are still accepting agreed orders, either agreed final orders that are fully disposing of cases, or agreed temporary orders that are signed by both parties. They are still actually accepting those, and those will be filed into the case, assuming that both sides are in agreement. Also, I know Cook County is one of the first counties that are actually doing virtual prove-ups. So they just recently announced that they will be accepting scheduling of virtual and telephonic prove-ups in Cook County, as long as you have all of the necessary documents that we would have already been submitting under normal circumstances, as well as one additional form that both parties have to sign off on. So in terms of what can we still do from now until the time frame that these cases are rescheduled, we can still submit agreed orders. We can still move forward with uncontested cases to prove up and finalize the divorce process in Cook County. And we can also, in any county that I'm aware of in Illinois, you can still move forward on an emergency basis on certain things. And you can actually submit those emergencies directly to the judge and the clerk electronically, and then they determine whether it's an emergency and give you further direction from there.
Awesome. Toby, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on in the Dane County area as it relates to courts being open and what's being heard, and kind of timelines for rescheduling?
Sure. Okay, I'm going to start out by sounding incredibly sycophantic. So if any court official is watching, I promise I'm not kissing up, but I've been amazed at how responsive the courts have been. I feel like they were out ahead of it. I feel like they have anything that they needed to reschedule, they instantly rescheduled. And this is not just Dane County, but surrounding counties. I have a contested temporary order hearing by phone this Friday. In fact, the court's gone so far as to reach out to counsel and find out who is testifying. And in fact, one of the parties needs an interpreter, so they actually have an interpreter standing online, ready to interpret this. So just about every nuance that could be handled is being handled, and courts are accepting e-filed exhibits as opposed to real time, because we're not using video conferencing yet. So from a from an action standpoint, I really haven't personally seen any slowdown in my practice. If the news wasn't out there and we weren't talking about COVID-19, my life this week would look like any other week. So the courts have been incredibly responsive, and that's been really impressive. I have told potential clients, and I think it's true, this is really kind of an opportune time. If they're seeking action, this is an opportune time to file. The courts have the opportunity, and we can marshal our efforts, and the common timeline for litigation actually allows a lot of this kind of curve on the pandemic to meter out by the time something that actually is legitimately going to get heard, which is again that 30 to 45 day range at a minimum, accepting emergency motions. So if there's a time to do something, it's actually now, and I've been pretty impressed with the fluidity of it.
So Holly, how are things being handled in the Milwaukee area? Because it's a little, my understanding, it's been a little different.
So unfortunately, in Milwaukee, at least, we are not, Milwaukee County specifically, my understanding is that the court commissioners, that's who hears our temporary orders hearings in Milwaukee, they have not yet facilitated phone appearances for those hearings, nor has Waukesha. Those hearings have all simply been removed from the court calendar and have not yet been rescheduled. So we're waiting to see what's going to be happening there. I think a lot of people are waiting to see what's going to be happening there. I mean, there was a Supreme Court order issued on Sunday that specifically requires all judges, court commissioners, and court clerks are required to utilize available technologies, including email, teleconferencing, and video conferencing in lieu of in-person courtroom appearances. So, I mean, this is the order that they are going to be trying their very best to follow. I mean, Milwaukee County is challenging because of the number of litigants, specifically the number of pro se litigants, meaning without attorneys, that are going to be perhaps themselves without technology, then trying to work with a court that's trying to catch up on technology. So it's a challenge. And right now, Milwaukee seems to be a bit in limbo, at least on the temporary orders hearings. My understanding is that the judges and their clerks are working really hard, both in Waukesha and Milwaukee, to accommodate final divorce hearings by phone, which quite frankly is not a new thing with COVID. I mean, I had done final divorce hearings by phone a number of times because I had clients who were active military overseas or clients who live out of state. So they have the ability to do this. I think it's just much different now on the level of the commissioner's offices, because those hearings, I mean, they stack those hearings probably, half a dozen in the morning to every single one of the commissioners, and then the same in the afternoon. So you're looking at a really full docket day by day in trying to get the technology to catch up to that demand. So right now we don't have the same response level that Toby's experiencing in Madison, unfortunately, but that could change by the end of today. I really think that this is ever evolving. So as we know more, we will be updating our clients for sure.